Hey Lakeway, Pastor Mike here with a little bit of midweek motivation for you. Actually, it's more like end of week motivation. It's Friday today. You know, this Sunday we have the opportunity to gather together in the church building right here. It's been 11 weeks since we last did that. Some are excited, some are not quite so excited. They're not really ready to come back just yet, and that's okay. But it got me thinking to the origins of what we sometimes now call the church, this building that we gather in. The very first church was the tabernacle. It was a mobile church on the go from around 1450 BC. The Israelites used it while they wandered in the desert for 40 years in the wilderness. And every place that they camped, they would set up the tabernacle. And it was quite a complex building, quite big, with a courtyard and a main building. And inside the main part, which was called the tent of meeting, they would put the Ark of the Covenant, and then there was a separate place in there called the Holy of Holies. And the Holy of Holies was a place to meet with the Lord. Only the priest was permitted to go into the Holy of Holies and meet with the Lord. It was a place where we would offer sacrifices and praise to God. But only the priest went in there. The next church was Solomon's temple that was completed around 957 BC. This now, the Israelites had taken their place in the Promised Land, and this was a permanent structure built on what is now the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Back then, it was Mount Moriah. And Mount Moriah was the very place where Abraham offered up his son Isaac as a sacrifice. So the temple got built on the same location where the Israelites would continue to offer sacrifices to the Lord. It was a grand building compared to the tabernacle, much bigger. The main building was called the Holy Place. And again, it housed the Ark of the Covenant and had an area called the Holy of Holies. Only the priest could enter the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies was the place where we would go to meet with the Lord, offer sacrifices and offer praise to the Lord. That temple was destroyed when the Israelites went into exile around 587 BC. The Babylonians came in, completely destroyed the temple, took the Israelites and relocated them back in Babylon. The next temple was constructed when they returned from exile. The Assyrians had taken over. They were more apt to let the Israelites return back to the Holy Land. And under Zerubbabel, a new temple was built around 515 BC. Now, it too had a main building called the Holy Place that contained the Holy of Holies. The Ark was now lost at this time, but the temple, inside the Holy of Holies, there was a raised platform where the Ark would have stood. And maybe part of that was in the hope that at some point the Ark would be recovered and they would put it back there, but it never, ever was. Again, only the priest could enter the Holy of Holies to meet with the Lord. Now, this temple lasted much longer. It was much grander than Solomon's temple. It was enlarged and beautified by Herod and became known as Herod's temple. It was completely destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. Now, there is a third temple in the Old Testament, Ezekiel's temple. Much bigger than either of the others. It could contain the tabernacle, Solomon's, and Zerubbabel's temples all in it easily, maybe 2 times over. Ezekiel received instructions for how to build this temple in a vision, but his temple was never built, or should I say, has not yet been built. Now, what was the purpose of these structures and the synagogues that replaced them and the churches that we see scattered across all the lands now? What were the purpose of these places? They are the result of our desire to have a special place that's set apart, a holy place where we could meet with the Lord. Now, it was somewhat futile because even Solomon, after he constructed his temple in 1 Kings 8:27, he said, "But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heavens, cannot contain you. How much less this building I have built?" You know, ever since the original sin back in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve sinned against God, there's been a fracture between us and God. We've been separated from God, and deep inside of our souls, there is a craving to get back to God. I've been talking about cravings for a few weeks now. This Sunday, we're going to continue on that tack. You know, this Sunday, many of us are going to meet in this place that we have built, a special place that we see as set apart, as a holy place, a place to meet with the Lord. And inside of us, you know, we're going to continue talking about that craving, and we're going to talk about destiny. Because we have a destiny. We crave a destiny. Our destiny is to be with God. But not just in the hereafter, but right here on earth. There's something inside of us that craves God. He is our destiny. Whether we meet face to face this Sunday or whether we meet virtually, it doesn't matter. Let's just make sure that we meet and talk about this destiny that we have inside of us to be with our God. Hey, I'm looking forward to it. Stay safe. I love you all. Bye-bye.